Good morning. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in welcoming Brennan with today's announcements.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, January 17th, and it's a white day. As a reminder, there are no classes on Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Juniors, please be sure to go to Fuller Hall during advisory time for a presentation from Guidance. Seniors, local scholarships are starting to come in. Please be sure to check out Naviance and the bulletin board outside of Colby 101 for the latest information. Please see Mrs. LeBounty in Colby 101 with questions. Mongolia trip participants, please plan to meet briefly on Tuesday in Streeter 237 at 2:45. Check in with Mr. Jones or Dr. Desjardins in person if you cannot make the meeting. Attention girls lacrosse players. A reminder that we have another winter lax pickup session this Sunday morning from 9:30 to 11 in the fieldhouse. See you there. Did you know that chocolate chip cookies are student body president Brendan O'Farrell's favorite? Treat Brendan to his favorite. Find a sophomore and buy Vermont cookie. Love cookie dough today. For Brendan and for everyone else you know. Cookies. There will be a brief Asian Culture Club meeting in Christensen's lobby right after school today to plan for the Lunar New Year. If you have any questions, please see Miss Davis in Streeter 255. A new club is starting. If you are interested in being a part of the Free Ski Club, join us for an informational meeting today, immediately after school, in Mr. Jones' room, Streeter 237. Attention all improvers. If you'd like to attend our next meeting, please make a list on a large note card with an animal, a national landmark, and a style of dance on a small piece of paper and hand them to Mr. Dembski as soon as possible. Note cards should be unfortunately large. Happy birthday today to Jalen McVeigh and Everett Perkins. Happy birthday on Monday to Jack Ween. Happy birthday, everyone. Today in sports, we have JV and varsity girls basketball at Rice at 5:30 and 7. Please dismiss the teams at 2:15. JV and varsity boys basketball at Essex at 5:30 and 7. Please dismiss the teams at 2:15. Tomorrow in sports, we have bowling at Valley Bowl, wrestling at Commodore Invitational at 10, indoor track state throw championship at 8, Nordic at Montpelier 5K Invitational at 10, JVB girls basketball versus Rutland at 11, JVB boys basketball versus Rutland at 12:30, girls hockey at Carnes Arena at 5:15, boys hockey at Woodstock at 6:45, and on Sunday in sports, we have indoor track at Greater Boston Track Club Invite. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Brennan. We do have one late announcement. The bowling team had a successful break. In 4 match days, the team won 10 games to only 5 losses, coming in first on 2 match days and second in the other 2. Connor Simons, Keegan Norrie, and Rory Knott were all vital to securing those victories. Congratulations to all of our bowlers. And now, with a Clear River Review promo, it's my pleasure to introduce Miss Drew and Miss Mackenzie. And Mr. Chatterley.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see you. So I am up here with Ms. Drew and Mr. Chatterley and Mr. Arain, and we are here to tell you about a very special opportunity that comes around once a year where you have the chance to submit your work and potentially be published in print in a beautiful book of work, which is St. Johnsbury Academy's book of literature and art. So let's talk to you a little bit about what you can submit. So the first category of work that you can submit is prose, and you can either submit nonfiction, so think if you've got a really well-written college essay, perhaps a memoir, or talking about a place that's important to you, you can also submit fiction. There is a word limit of 2,500 words. In the poetry category, you can submit poems that are up to 40 lines. And for poetry nerds, that is so that you can squeak in potentially a sestina, which is 39 lines.
And for visual arts, what you need to do is think about all the work you have made for the past year. We've seen a ton of fantastic work hanging in Morse, so you should feel proud enough to submit. What you're going to need to do is make a digital, high resolution, at least 300 DPI, and it has to be created under the guidance of our esteemed faculty here in Morse. You also need a process statement, and if anybody needs any help with that, all of our faculty in Morse are happy to help. So please do apply.
There are 2 sets of prizes that are available for some submissions. One is offered by the Cowell Center for Global Understanding. So the Cowell Center for Global Understanding seeks excellence in writing and photography that captures the essence of places, peoples, and cultures, whether near or far. Both the essay and the photography submissions will be judged for the quality of artistic expression and for content that shows an awareness of and sensitivity to what makes a place, people, and or culture unique. The recipients of the first prize in each category will win $75, and of course you'll see their work published in the review. And those who are runners-up will win prizes of $25. So it is obviously not required that these submissions capture an image of or write about someplace far away. We have our own culture, we have our own people, and we want to see what you can develop or what observations you can make about us or others.
The English department also offers 2 prizes, one in fiction and one in poetry, and those prizes are selected from the submissions that are being published. So it's another opportunity for recognition in our publication. So submitting to the Clear River Review, you may have seen that there are posters around campus. We hung those up last semester. There are rip strips on those. That has the bit.ly, it's bit.ly/clearriver. That's case sensitive, so if it doesn't work, make sure it's all lowercase. We also have sent out links to your deans and many of your teachers, so you can get those from those individuals as well. So you need to make sure that you're submitting only 2 pieces per category. So that's 2 prose pieces, 2 poetry pieces, and 2 visual pieces. Those are the limits, okay? Use the submission form. This is what it looks like. The deadline is Monday, February 3rd at 8 a.m. If you're submitting writing, please make sure that's a Google Doc or a Word doc. Editing is a normal process for publication, and we need to be able to do that, so make sure that those are not PDFs. It needs to be your original work, not derivative. If you have questions about what this means, please talk to one of your English teachers or Mrs. McKenzie and I. And again, Mr. Chatterley mentioned that your artwork needs to be a high-resolution scan or picture. Please don't hesitate to submit something if you're not sure about the quality. We'll help you with that. So if you're struggling with that, submit it, and then we'll come to you and we'll help you get that picture or that scan. We certainly don't want you to hesitate in those submissions. So that's our form. Make sure it looks like that. And if you have any questions, you can email us at clear.river@stjacademy.org, or go see Mrs. McKenzie in Ranger 110, or come see me up on the mountain high of Colby 305. I know you guys love walking up to the 3rd floor of Colby. So we really look forward to seeing your submissions, and thank you so much.
Thank you to our faculty. That's a wonderful opportunity to have your voice and your vision of the world shared with others. It's my pleasure this morning to share a chapel talk that Dr. Howell actually wrote, but she is under the weather, so I am here on her behalf. to offer the following remarks. There's no school on Monday, and I want to be sure that you know why. Monday is the federal holiday that celebrates and honors the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Many across the country on Monday will pause and reflect on the life of Dr. King. I hope we can spend some time throughout the day and the coming week thinking about Dr. King's legacy of fighting for civil rights and standing against racism and oppression everywhere. I don't want to assume that everyone in the room knows who Dr. King was and what he did, but even if you do know, it's good to be reminded of how a single life, not in itself terribly remarkable, when combined with the courage and strength, can have a profound effect on the world. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, the son of a minister in Atlanta, Georgia, the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. He attended the historically black Morehouse College starting at the age of 15 and graduated in 1948. He received his doctorate from Boston University. He served as a Baptist minister at a Baptist church in Montgomery, Alabama from 1954 to 1960, where he led the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955 and 56, which was what followed the arrest of Rosa Parks on a city bus. Dr. King was the leader of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s, and he led nonviolent campaigns of resistance across the South, where he was often arrested and jailed. In the summer of 1963, Dr. King led a march on Washington, D.C., and delivered his resounding "I Have a Dream" speech. King's work both alongside and in tension with President Lyndon Johnson and the legislature culminated in the 1965 Voting Rights Act. King continued to work for justice and against poverty and oppression until he was assassinated in April of 1968. About 4 days after his death, Representative John Conyers of Michigan submitted legislation to make Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a national holiday. It took about 20 years for that legislation to pass, but finally in 1987, MLK Day became the national holiday that it is today. It is right for us to celebrate him as a nation, as an American, because the story of King's life and work is an American story, just as Black history is American history. On MLK Day, we should be interested in what it means, what it has meant over centuries to have a voice in America. It's important to see that Martin Luther King Jr. participated in a tradition of using one's voice to make change, of writing and saying things that move people to action. Our national mythology begins in writing, in the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Paine's Common Sense, Thoreau's Civil Disobedience, and in speech, in the Gettysburg Address, Washington's farewell speech to Congress, and countless others. In August of 1963, Dr. King was arrested for participating in peaceful protests in Birmingham, Alabama. In the days he was detained, he wrote his famous Letter from a Birmingham Jail, in which he argues that there's no time like the present to fight for justice. He's writing to white Southern church leaders who have urged him to be patient. But he knows that patience in the face of present injustice is not an American quality. So he joins the ranks of the people he quotes, Jefferson, Lincoln, Martin Luther, to make the same arguments they do against oppression. King knew that he was weaving his protest into the fabric of American history and that it belonged there despite the nearsightedness of so many Americans. Today, I want you to hear King's voice in this letter because it is muscular. He shows off some of his book learning, and finally hopeful, because he knew it is not possible to lead people into action to change what is without giving them hope for what will be, and without helping them believe that our fates are intertwined. When he says, quote, "We will reach the goal of freedom all over the nation because the goal of America is freedom," he's claiming not only some status as a prophet, we will reach the promised land, but also claiming his full citizenship as an American. Here are some short excerpts from what is a very long letter. Quote, "I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with the narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives in the United States can never be considered an outsider. We know through painful experience that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Frankly, I have never yet engaged in direct action movement that was well-timed, according to the timetable of those who have not suffered unduly from the disease of segregation. For years now, I have heard the word wait. This wait has almost always meant never. We must come to see that justice too long delayed is justice denied. We have waited for more than 340 years for our God-given and constitutional rights. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The urge for freedom will eventually come. Now our approach is being dismissed as extremist. I must admit that I was initially disappointed in being so categorized. But as I continued to think about this matter, I gradually gained a bit of satisfaction from being considered an extremist. Was Jesus not an extremist of love? Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, pray for them that despitefully use you. Was not Martin Luther an extremist? Here I stand, I can do no other, so help me God. Was John Bunyan an extremist? I will stay in jail to the end of my days before I make mockery of my conscience. Was Abraham Lincoln an extremist? This nation cannot survive half slave, half free. Was not Thomas Jefferson an extremist? We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate, or will we be extremists for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice, or will we be extremists for the cause of justice? I have no despair about the future. I have no fear about the outcome of our struggle in Birmingham, even if our motives are presently misunderstood. We will reach the goal of freedom in Birmingham and all over the nation because the goal of America is freedom." End quote. I hope you will let Dr. King's words echo in your minds today. I hope you will think about what it means for you to all have a voice. What would you use your voice to accomplish? How would you speak up? To whom would you address your letter? These days, the air is full of voices, so much so sometimes it can be hard for you to hear your own, but I hope that you will try. Have a wonderful weekend, faculty.